Hello, welcome back to From Soft Serve. Today I wanted to do a quick update on what is going on with the Dark Souls Re-Remastered project. Because obviously I've been making a lot of videos about Dark Souls 2 and tweeting a lot about Dark Souls 2. And obviously announcing the Definitive Edition mod with Yozora and I. Vanilla DS2 Remastered, the eventual Scholar kind of remastered mod as well, so that way you can play just Scholar, and you don't have to have gameplay changes if you wouldn't like them, which is understandable. But I mentioned in some of my last videos that there's a reason why I hadn't been working on DSR as much, because I had to fix the cutscenes, which was fine, but part of fixing one of the cutscenes was in the Undead Asylum, where basically in the cutscene for the beginning of the game, it would have this torch illumination, even though I had removed the torches. And, you know, long story short of why did I remove the torches to begin with? Well, that is because the torch illumination looked awful with my added shadow casting. And of course, then you could say, why? Because I went through this myself, where I was like, well, just turn the hallway that you start the game in, turn that to not be shadow casting. Well, there's a problem with that, in that the way that shadow casting works, and that if you turn it to not be shadow casting, then the light comes through, and then there's light bleed on the character, and then the actual like holes in the top of the cells have the light come through, and I had to manually create something. It's a whole thing. There's a lot of reasons behind it. Oh, I'm in New Game Plus 2. I can't warp. Oh, that's right. Let's go on a character that has warping. I can do DSR gadget, but I have to like Alt-Tab, click on it. I'll just go to a warping character. But today's video, I am currently logged into, not really logged into, but you know what I mean. The Shader Overhaul. DSR Shader Overhaul. And it is sick nasty, and it's something I've been keeping my eye on for a long time. Jacked, maybe? Jacked? He might have fast travel, which I do have the debug mode enabled, so you'll see the debug mode sometimes. But the reason for kind of looking into the shader overhaul, again, because I've already tested of like, okay, can I make it compatible with my mod? Because it kind of never was. Turns out I think I was also installing it incorrectly sometimes. But here we have it running through Mod Engine 2, which is the ideal way because it launches from a separate folder and it doesn't affect the game files. And so it's still using my better textures. It's just basically loading the shader overhaul, which actually, the reason why that exists is that QLock, when they released Dark Souls Remastered, they accidentally left in some debug versions of the DX11 shaders. And so the mod creator Altimore went through and actually started affecting the shaders themselves and modifying them and having improvements. So if we look very quickly at the page for the shader overhaul, it basically says it reworks lighting and increases contrast, more vibrant metals similar to Prepare to Die Edition, fixes the SSAO, so screen space ambient occlusion, not affecting point lights, which your player lantern is a point light. So that's actually a huge difference in that you'll get SSAO from the actual lantern that you're casting yourself. It's a huge difference. Better interaction between baked light maps on static geometry and dynamic shadow maps, very important. Adds light bleed through mitigation for point light specular. Shadow maps no longer, yeah, so the light bleed through will be like whenever you see something, as far as I understand, I'm not an expert at this, first to admit that, but that's what you'll commonly see. Even in DS2, they have it too, where you'll see if there's a torch illuminating, but there's a wall. Basically on the other side of that wall, you shouldn't see any of that illumination, but you do. And so I'm actually curious. I have an area that I'd be curious to check that out. Shadow maps no longer mask the specular component. So this is actually the big thing. So let's go back to the game. So the big thing for me, that's why I reached out to Altimore last week, and I was like, hey, is there a way to have a specific version of the shader overhaul that just does that? because that was the issue I was having, in that the dynamic shadows would override the specular component of the illumination of light torches, and it made them look like basically dog shit. So that was the real thing that got me interested in, like, I would love to make this like 100% compatible with my mod, because I think it's absolutely worthwhile upgrades. So that's something you'll notice playing the shader overhaul here, is that it has really good ambient occlusion versus what the base game does. And that's something I myself couldn't have done through just param files and whatnot. Also, the shadows seem much better. Like they're softer, and they look more natural than I think what they originally looked like. But the metallic handling on armor is pretty sick. Like if I put Ornstein's on, ooh, it's beautiful looking. Yeah, let me go on to my little, and this is how, I actually love this bridge, because this can tell me that it is using my textures, because this bridge is from Demon Souls, or the bridge texture. And so it basically lends the game a very, like, I don't know, it fixes a lot of the issues that I was having with DS1's handling of specular, and trying to goof around with like how that functions, and was it too bright, was it too noisy, and this mostly fixes that. Now there are some peculiarities that might be interacting with how my mod changed things, so that's why I've been in a bit of a holding pattern. You know, I've been in contact with Altimore, and you know, I'll update more when, you know, when and if I have progress on that. But I do think it's actually worthwhile to update the mod to support the shader overhaul, because it's genuinely, like, I think a game changer in many ways, and should be, if I want my mod to be like the, you know, ideal version. I think it's impossible to ignore. I think it's impossible to ignore the shader overhaul. So I definitely want to do that. Let's go to a few other areas, because I might need to actually make alterations to my settings to benefit that. But yeah, I'm going to talk to Altimore first. I've been playing so much DS2 that I am oh no, fuck my ass. Oh, I forgot I enabled quick mode. I forgot the left thumbstick does that. We're flying around? Okay. Hey, what's up, Solaire? How's it going? Let's check out Solaire. So the thing I've noticed is that it makes the game darker, and so I can basically counteract that through params, but I wanted to make sure to check with them first to see what could be done there, because I don't think it's been updated since October of last year. So I was going to check in to see, like, what's the status? Is there more work to be done? Is it finished? And if any tweaks can be made, perhaps, to better suit DSRR. But let's go to some other areas, because I think, let me actually open up DSR Gadget, because that actually lets you warp anywhere. And there's some areas I haven't even checked out. So this is a bit of just trying it out. Ooh, yeah, Sense Fortress. That's actually a really good one. Let's go to Sense Fortress, because I love that fucking area. It's one of my favorite, like, places in my mod. Let's see. All right. Okay, the interior is a little blue. Blue, well, more greenish. Yeah. Oh, the exterior is blue. Yeah. Interesting. I think it actually looks pretty. Yeah, it definitely is making things darker, which is good. But I basically need to understand, what have I done to make things darker, to counteract the darkness that the shader overhaul. So we essentially need to share notes, and if it is finalized, I can then just go through and tweak all of my areas to basically match that. And once I do that, then it should be fine, because it's actually a super easy download. It's like one of the easiest mods to install. Ooh, I got the great sword. Man, the greatsword in this game isn't that good. I wish it was like the DS2 and 3 greatsword, where it's fucking giant. Like, it's legitimately the guts sword. But yeah, I guess I was trying to understand from Altimore, is it, like, if it is settled and there maybe are some more enhancements, then I want to double down on it. So I've been busy with DS2 anyway, but I just wanted to triple check. Also, I realized, oh, I forgot I have the quick mode on anyway. You can actually make this jump. Also, Quelaag's Fury Sword is sick as fuck. So cool. Oh, shit. Alright, be cool. Okay, be cool. See, this is how you do a boss weapon. Oh, fuck my ass. Okay, I don't know what the fuck is... I'm up in your gooch. I'm in the gooch. The dead gooch now. Okay. Thank you. Oh, I didn't die. Oh, that's a plus. But yeah, it handles the player lantern here. This is actually a really good example. So it was really kind of rough looking without the shader overhaul, but now that you actually get ambient occlusion on sort of the illumination from the player lantern, it looks pretty incredible, honestly. Like, I didn't even notice it was like an issue until I basically installed the shader overhaul, and I was like, oh fuck, that actually looks awesome. And I think it just gives a more refined look to the game, where the original shaders were a little underbaked, I think. And this is kind of the missing piece of the puzzle as far as like material handling too. Because I had never been able to replicate how Prepare to Die Edition handles the metallics of armor. Even through specular changes, and then in my Discord they've been messing around with cube maps for seemingly ever, and they have been able to boost like reflectivity and whatnot, but to get it to actually look very much like that, it's incredibly difficult. Let's go to the painted world. That could look cool. Yeah, let's load that up. Alright. Yeah, the ambient occlusion is probably one of my favorite things of the shader overhaul. It just looks so much more natural. Like, it really enhances the player lantern. Humanity. Oh, have I not been here on this character? That's true. I always forget where I've been on different characters, but yeah, I did remove the torch here. I remember doing that because I had to enable shadow casting. Yeah, that's the thing. What if I... That's kind of the thing. What if I do that live as a test? So what if we log out of this jabroni? And what if we test how the illumination looks from that torch specifically? So let's make that change. Let's load into first. It's got to load DS2 in its 5,000 params. Okay, so I ended up calling it the Soulstruck Companion Project. That's what my Dark Souls Re-Remastered mod is called. I just never changed it because I thought I was going to use Soulstruck, the actual like Soulstruck program, and I did not. Let me tell you, I did not. I do use Blender Soulstruck though, and Soulstruck is great. Don't get me wrong, it's great. I take it back. I did use it for event scripting on doors. That's something that DS Map Studio does not do. And it was awesome. Also, Grimm is awesome, and their work on Dark Souls Nightfall and Soulstruck is amazing. Amazing. Okay, so over here we're going to go to an unmodded DSR project, because that way I can pull up the painted world, and I can basically replicate exactly that point light down to all the settings. Because I want to make sure it looks exactly the same so I can get the correct illumination. So here we go. We have, it is called Region 07. Got it. Let's load up the painted world in my project. Okay. Don't let the flat earthers know about the painted world. It is one big Reese's cup. But they cannot know of that, because then, you know, who knows what they'll do. We must hide that from them. Okay, so here's the same torch here. And let's see if we have a free region point to steal. Because I can create one manually, but I can also just steal that one, duplicate it. It's also good to do these kind of DS1 things every once in a while, since I'm going pretty heavy on DS2, and the way that it functions is just incredibly different. So it is important for me to remember how DS1 functions, to keep my brain fresh. Okay, so let's place this torch illumination. Well, really it's the region point, so that's how it works in DSR, or Dark Souls 1 in general. It kind of sucks because you actually have to make like 3 separate things. You have to make a region point, which is the actual location of where the special effect or whatever you're creating will be at. That tells the game engine where it's going to be in the X and Y and Z coordinates. And then you have to create a light, which will handle the illumination. And then you have to create an SFX, which will handle the actual particle effect. It's kind of annoying that you have to do that. DS3 made it so much easier, where it was literally like a toggle. You'd be able to select just this torch and then change one number, and then it would display the fire and the illumination. You didn't have to create all these different things, but DS1 was a little old style here. So basically we're going to copy directly from this other project and call it the same thing, because I ended up deleting all of them, because of course. Let's go under regions. We say it is this, that is in, oh, I could have copied the actual location, but it's close enough. I have the positions here, very close. So let's do that. It then references light 07. So let's go into event and then light. We can actually just copy duplicate any of these, and then basically we create the same exact one, and it's going to use the region name. This is where you tell it the region that you created. So it's 07. And then the name of it will be Japanese symbols and then 07. Normally they actually, what you can also do is just name it the exact same thing as the region name. I thought that wouldn't work, but it actually does. The engine doesn't care. It goes, oh, okay. So what if the light has the same name as the region name? Point light ID is 0. Interesting. And then the part name I didn't understand for quite a while, but it's actually like, I believe what it's tied to of when it renders. I think it actually inherits the basically draw groups of if that part number, if that map piece M2001B0 is being rendered, then that special effect or that particle effect should also be rendered. From what I understand, that seems like that's how they're doing it. Okay, so we have that. We have the event ID. Okay, so let's go back to the region. And now we need to make an SFX, which is also under the events. Let's copy one here. And it looks like it is. We had SFX 06 still existing. Offhand, I don't know what the fuck that is, but okay, so let's name it the same. The effect ID is 530. 530 is your standard torch particle effect. 511 is candlelight. Why do I remember these things? Well, I couldn't tell you. The things I choose to remember, and then the things that I forget. It's hilarious. Okay, so we have our region name, we have our name, entity, effect ID. The part name is correctly M2001. The event ID will be 43. Okay. All right, we've now created our things to create a torch here. So let's save our game. And then I do need to open up the Souls modding project. Let's go to my, here you can see all these different mods. Also the statue thing I alluded to in one of my DS2 videos recently about the sunlight statue in DS2. And there's going to be a video from another modder that's coming out tomorrow. So look out for that. I'm not saying who it's done by, but I will tweet about it because I don't want to ruin the surprise, but I had a hand in that. A small, very small hand. The smallest hand possible. But it also includes a mod. It's kind of cool. I like working with other modders. It's sick as hell. Soulstruck DSMS comp project. Here we go. So we basically need to copy the map folder and param folder. Well, you don't need to do the param folder, but that's my classic problem, is that I will copy it anyway, just to remind myself to do it, even though I don't need to. Yes. Okay. Booyah. So let's go back to our game. We're logged out. And technically there should now be a torch there. There should be a fire, a torchlight. We'll see. Now the shader overhaul, because it's using Mod Engine 2, it does not work online, but honestly DSRR, I had been recommending for quite a while now not to use that online, because there's so many changes that if you're going to be invaded by someone else or playing online with someone else that doesn't also have the mod, like, there's just no way for me to test that. And I can't give any sort of guarantee for that. Because that's just impossible to play test, and I don't understand how any of that functions. Oh, it didn't work. Uh-oh. Okay. Okay. Now, why did it not work? That's the question. Did I save it in the right project? Pretty sure I did. Pretty sure I did. Yeah, Dark Souls Remastered. That's Dark Souls Remastered unmodded, so that is the current version of it. And I am in the Soulstruck Companion project, which is true. Okay. It might be the... I've been having an issue with the part names, for sure. The part names, like, of when it gets rendered and when it does not, has definitely been... Because that's the thing. It's... Oh, that's why. Because I have M2001B0 set to no draw groups at all. Because that will render it more often, but I'm assuming that's the thing that actually breaks when it's tied to particle effects, maybe? Okay, so I put the draw groups back. This is why it's always good to have a backup, like, unmodded project, so you can always see what it was set to prior. So if you ever fuck something up or want to test something, always have that. Okay, save project. Okay, let's try that again. If not, there is another thing I can do. I can actually tie it to a collision, or you can actually leave it blank, and that ideally in most cases will render the particle effect. I didn't mean to hit retry. Sorry, Mizaki, I didn't mean to hit retry. I'm pinging your server again. Yeah, my bad. Okay. Let's try that again. I think that'll work. I think it likes... Yeah, okay, so there you go. So it likes there to be draw groups. So you might be seeing this and go, oh, well, this looks like how it always did. Ah, but there's a key difference. So in my mod, without the shader overhaul, this looks like fucking trash. This, basically what happens is the illumination is in a small circle. Actually, usually there's no illumination at all whenever I enable shadow casting on map pieces. And this map piece is large, so I need it to be shadow casting to have correct shadows from the, you know, the sun shadows, right? Or in this area, not really sun shadows. But it would basically cover this illumination that you're getting normally. And it just looked like Garbo. And so I could sort of get past that halfway, where I could put another special effect underneath the torch one, that is the candle illumination. And that actually would illuminate even with the dynamic shadow covering it, but it looked very awful. And this looks 100% correct while also having my shadow additions. And this is what I've wanted for months. So basically what I need to do now is go back through and add torches all throughout the game world, which honestly sucks major ass, like huge ass. But it is also something that just needs to be done, and it's not easy to, like, just put them all back. by like putting a file in there. That's just unfortunately not how this works. DS2 breaks it down into a lot of different files. DS1 does not. So there's usually also a torch out here. So this was actually a great test because this looks fucking awesome. This is what it should look like. And so now we can have the best of both worlds. We can have Blight Town with torches again. We can have the Painted World with torches, Undead Burg with torches. We can have those torches again and not have it look like fucking trash. This is hugely exciting for me. And I will start working on this, actually getting the torches back in the game, because this looks awesome. And then, of course, I'll be talking to Altimore soon about any more changes to shader overhaul or modifications or anything that can work better with DSRR. Because they responded back and were like, oh, hey, man, yeah. I'm a little busy right now, but DM me later. And I'm like, you got it, big dog. So super excited. Hopefully that answers some of people's questions about where the fuck is the mod. It's still there. It's still cool. And I'm still thinking about it daily. I'm just working on some other stuff as well. Ooh, I think there's some real terrible UV mapping on that rock down here. Also, just in general, the way these textures look down here, it's been fucking awful for the whole time. Like, there's always been these seams. Ugh. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video.